Within each of us lies a wilderness, a vast, nameless land yearning for healing, hidden in the deepest layers of our inner being. It's not a place visible to the naked eye, yet it's a place we carry with us always as we live, breathe, and navigate the currents of life. Some traverse this wilderness in their dreams. Others, like Dylan, the protagonist in the renowned novel The Ferryman *, only truly recognize it after death. Psychologist Ka Trang once said, "He who looks outside dreams, he who looks inside awakens." This is not merely a work of fiction, but a journey the author wishes to impart, reminding all of us about awakening, about the effort to heal, and the courage to turn inward. A journey that perhaps you too are already on or are about to embark upon. This week, I want to share a topic titled, "Darkness Doesn't Come to Devour You, but to Help You Find the Light," inspired by Clammic Phone's novel, The Ferryman *. The literal meaning of the ferryman is the one who ferries. The Vietnamese translation, Nguyen Dan Hun, the soul guide, might initially lead newcomers to believe it's a purely metaphysical book. However, beneath its fictional veneer lie poignant and incredibly real insights, truths intimately tied to the journey of living, getting lost, and then awakening within each human being. The book isn't just a gripping story, it's a mirror reflecting our inner world, offering profound philosophies that help us live more meaningfully and fully on the path ahead. Immediately upon its release, this novel resonated with millions of readers worldwide, instantly landing on the New York Times bestseller list and being translated and republished in over 33 countries. If you find yourself adrift at life's crossroads, feeling lost and unsure how to move forward after deep wounds, or at times feeling numb amidst the existential impasses of life, this book might help you discover the most suitable guidance for your next steps. Everyone carries a wilderness of darkness within their heart, a place that needs to be traversed and healed. The main character, Dylan, grew up in a household with divorced parents. At 15, she faced profound loneliness and emotional trauma. At home, her busy mother never tried to understand her, leaving them with nothing to say to each other. At school, she was bullied and isolated by her peers. One day, overwhelmed by despair, she boarded a train to visit her estranged father. But the train crashed, and tragically, Dylan was the sole fatality. She became a solitary, lost soul in the wilderness, a place where yin and yang intertwine. Here, she had to wait for a guide to take her home, a sanctuary for souls like hers to rest and be reborn. At first, Dylan believed she was merely stuck, that rescue teams would come and she would return to her old life. But Tristan, the guide for souls, appeared. He told her the truth. She had died, and he helped her confront the reality before her. If she wanted to be reborn, she had to cross this wilderness. Initially, she imagined it would be a vibrant plain, blooming with flowers. But after just 2 days of following Tristan, she discovered this wilderness was not what she had envisioned. It was filled with towering, barren mountains, devoid of human presence. The cold wind cut through skin and bone, and the landscape was shrouded in an eerie, shifting crimson light, full of danger. Most terrifying of all, darkness and demons lurked, ready to descend when night fell, yearning to devour wandering souls, dragging them to the deepest abyss where they could never see the sun. At times, Dylan resented Tristan for bringing her to such a bizarre place, but later she understood. The path each soul must traverse is a manifestation of their own deepest thoughts, fears, and unreleased ghosts of the past. In truth, this strange wilderness in the novel doesn't wait for death to appear. It's a profound metaphorical realization the author wishes to impart to all of us, those still living and breathing on this earth. Everyone carries an inner wilderness that must be confronted, traversed, and healed. Before stepping onto that fateful train, Dylan lived in a paralyzed and indifferent society. Her school had 3 floors divided into identical classrooms, uniform on the outside, suffocating and insecure on the inside. Each classroom was a replica of soulless standardization, where only living corpses, like machines, spouted empty platitudes, as if performing a grand play hoping to change their fate, but in reality leading nowhere. That was the spiritual wilderness not only of Dylan, but of an entire generation. A society operating on a mechanical treadmill where people are forced into molds, losing their authenticity and gradually becoming blind to the emptiness in their souls. Like Dylan, many live in a dreamy, paralyzed state, unaware that they are drifting across this very spiritual desert. The author writes of this wilderness as if posing a question to each of us. Is the spiritual wilderness you've constructed in modern life merely the precursor to the desolate land your soul will face after death? In that wilderness, the pressures, invisible fears, resentment, falsehoods, arrogance, violence in communication and action, the disconnection from oneself and others, or the pursuit of hollow goals, and all the expectations and desires to be satisfied, aren't these all darkness lurking around us? Battling these shadows in our internal wilderness, while we still breathe, is not just a way to live more fully, but perhaps also a path to prepare for the ultimate liberation. For the wilderness doesn't wait until we die to appear. It exists right now in the minds of each person, in the fast-paced, paradoxical rhythm of your own life and mine. So, how do we fight and overcome the wilderness of darkness? And do you know, the universe has bestowed upon each of us 3 spiritual weapons, not to destroy the darkness, but to allow us to see the darkness and keep our own light from being extinguished, even as we journey through it. The first of these weapons is the understanding that what you perceive is a reflection of your own mind. As Dylan and Tristan traversed the wilderness, she gradually realized the weather there was strangely volatile, changing abruptly and unusually. Tristan told her that what she saw in the wilderness was a reflection of her inner self. If her mind was calm and steadfast, the weather would be beautiful, clear skies, gentle, transparent sunlight. But if she was angry, the sky would instantly darken, winds would gust, clouds would swirl, thunder and lightning would rage. The darker her inner state, the blacker the night would become. Understanding this, Dylan began to learn how to regulate her emotions, preserving her inner light so that her heart remained peaceful and calm in all situations. Because of this, the weather became clearer, the terrain less treacherous, helping them both safely find shelter. In reality, this metaphysical phenomenon is occurring right now in each of our lives. Doesn't psychology also have a concept called the projection effect, which states that everything we see outside ourselves is a reflection and manifestation of our own inner being? When you start to complain, the world around you immediately takes on a gray hue, and you stand in the middle of that gray circle, ceaselessly emitting waves of resentment. The people and events that annoy and displease you are actually attracted by the negative energy within you. There's a saying, the world is like a mirror. If you frown at it, it will frown back. If you smile at it, it will smile back. It's not because everything outside has gotten better, but because your inner gaze has changed. You are no longer controlled by negative emotions, no longer letting fear, anger, and hurt dictate your reactions. You begin to realize that true peace doesn't come from controlling the world to make everything go your way, but from mastering your own emotions and mind. And that is also when the wilderness is no longer a place where darkness lurks, but becomes a space for transformation, allowing you to see the cracks in your soul, and from there, learn to heal them. So ultimately, the journey through the wilderness is not about escaping or destroying darkness, but about bravely facing the hidden depths within our own minds. Darkness is not born to devour, but for you to find the light. Light cannot annihilate darkness, but it strips darkness of its power. For where there is light, there is no room for ignorance. When the inner light within you is strong enough, no darkness can affect you. When you find peace within, no matter where you are in life or beyond death, you will always have a place to return to. The second spiritual weapon to traverse the wilderness of darkness that the author wishes to highlight for us is the profound realization that every soul, illuminated by love and kindness, will become a guide for themselves and for others. Tristan, the soul guide, was actually a lonely and pitiable figure. He had no name, no fixed appearance, and no relatives or friends. Yet, he always fervently helped souls newly departed from the world. However, the recently deceased not only vented all their emotions on him, as if he were a garbage bin, but even resented him for bringing them to the wilderness. No one had ever sympathized with him, nor had anyone ever grieved for his suffering. Only Dylan. She looked at him with the gentle eyes of the kindest heart. After learning Tristan's secret, Dylan not only sincerely apologized, but also reached out to comfort him. This deeply moved Tristan. Later, in a deep ravine within the wilderness, Dylan was surrounded by thousands of vengeful spirits, nearly having her soul scattered. It was Tristan who bravely rushed in to save her from danger. Dylan asked him, "Why did you risk your life for me?" You could have, like before, left the soul to fend for itself. Why take such a risk? He simply said. I have guided countless souls, but you are the only one who truly empathized with me, who showed me the most genuine kindness. That's how it is. I bring you to shore, and in doing so, you are also ferrying me across the river. Just like the saying, kindness is never a one-way street, it's an echo. The more goodwill you give, the more warmth you will receive in return. If you've built a bridge for others to cross a river, someone will pave a path for you to cross a mountain. It was this sincerity that brought these two lost souls together in the wilderness, where they truly fell in love. After countless hardships, upon reaching the very end of the wilderness, Dylan stepped across the line of light, while Tristan was stopped by a curtain of light at the final boundary. They parted there without a promise. When Dylan set foot in the new world, she discovered that souls here never dissipated. This place was nothing short of paradise. Souls who arrived here would live forever, never dying, and would enjoy countless material comforts they never had in life. Yet, the journey through the wilderness with Tristan was precisely Dylan's process of spiritual advancement, making her realize one thing. This paradise-like home, without Tristan by her side, was merely an empty castle, an illusion devoid of meaning. Dylan wanted to find Tristan, but an old woman who had lived there for centuries told her that no one had ever succeeded in returning to the wilderness. Souls who went back disintegrated into dust. Now, if she returned, she would be alone, with no guide beside her. The vengeful spirits and darkness of the wilderness would claim her life at any moment. However, despite clearly understanding this, she did not hesitate but nodded steadfastly. Either never or now. She did not waver and stepped across the boundary, returning to the wilderness. Before, she fled to escape the darkness, but now she returned to embrace the light. Demons craving her soul surrounded her along the way, but she was not distracted. Her heart focused on a single intention, to find Tristan. In the past, when she followed Tristan, she was always afraid. But now she could walk steadily on her own, because with love in her heart, there was nothing left to fear. Finally, she found Tristan. Dylan proposed that they both return to live as humans in the mortal world. At this, Tristan hesitated. He feared breaking the ancient laws of the wilderness. But before Dylan's unwavering determination and unconditional love, he chose to let go of his fear and took her hand. On their journey back through the wilderness, anxiety still lingered. However, this time, he let Dylan lead. Before, he was her guide. Now she became his. When you guide others, you are also saving yourself. The story concludes with a happy ending. The two were reborn into the world and lived together forever. Many were moved by the sincere, pure, and intense love of Tristan and Dylan, a love that transcended life and death, simply to find each other once more. But from this perspective, the philosophy the author leaves behind this story extends beyond a romantic love affair. Beneath it lies a third spiritual weapon, a mental strength that helps us completely escape the influence of darkness, free ourselves from negativity, suffering, trauma, and desires, to truly live a fulfilling and free life. The third spiritual weapon to overcome the wilderness of darkness is the ability to see love not as mere companionship, but as an opportunity for awakening. Tristan was a peculiar character. His appearance changed depending on the soul he faced, simply to help them more easily accept and traverse the wilderness. When guiding a fallen soldier, he became a stern officer. When accompanying a child, he transformed into a familiar Santa Claus. But miraculously, with Dylan, Tristan didn't need to transform anymore. She saw him for who he truly was, not an archetype created by her mind. For others, Tristan's appearance was merely an illusion woven by their consciousness to alleviate fear as they crossed the wilderness. But for Dylan, it was different. Why was that? Many believe it's because Dylan was Tristan's true love, but was that love truly for someone outside herself? In fact, no, it was love for herself. Rather than saying Dylan loved Tristan, it's more accurate to say she truly embarked on a journey of self-love. For Tristan was actually the other half of Dylan's soul, not an other half in the conventional romantic sense, but a part of her soul that was strong when she was weak, clear-headed when she was panicked, protective when she was uncertain about everything. Tristan was the forgotten soul fragment, also fearfully bound by the rules of the gloomy wilderness. Dylan saw that part, named it, embraced it, and brought it back. When the two parts of her soul merged, she no longer needed a guide, for she herself had become her own guide. The Ferryman * is not just a passionate love story. Above all, it's a journey inward of self-salvation, of unifying with one's true self. When we are brave enough to love, guide, and harmonize with ourselves, returning to embrace the abandoned part of our soul without feeling separated, no longer denying the darkness, that is when we truly come home. Home is where there is peace, where we are whole with ourselves. For some, the story's ending might seem like a cynical commentary on a dark material world, where even two merged souls cannot find peace in paradise, but must return to be human. But what if we are human? What if we face suffering? What if we confront survival? If the soul has been unified, if the heart knows how to love itself, then the mortal world can also become our own free paradise. It's not because life has changed, but because you have changed. And when that happens, no matter where you are, what obstacles you face, whether you pass through darkness or light, in the metaphysical realm or the human world, you will no longer be lost. You just need to understand that no matter how difficult or negative things become, no matter how oppressive the darkness, you can remain steadfast on the path of returning, unifying, and loving yourself. So, how is this self-love manifested? It's when, in fear, anxiety, or anger, you choose to examine your heart, remain calm, and master your emotions. It's when, instead of expecting or relying on others, you can always trust and respect yourself. It's when, no matter how life unfolds, you can still treat everyone around you with the utmost kindness and sincerity. Ka Trang once said, "Humans will try every absurd way to avoid confronting their own soul, but only those who dare to face it can truly awaken." Instead of fleeing, it's better to become someone with a strong inner self, facing life's ups and downs, and saving yourself. The author once said that the wilderness in this book is the wilderness in her own soul, and it is also the wilderness within each of us. The only way to save ourselves is to cross it. May both you and I be brave and steadfast to the very end on this journey home.